Today, I'm excited to announce a new federal plastic registry, which will increase transparency and help make producers responsible.
Something like a registry like this, let's just add the biggest pile of red tape you could ever add to have such a ridiculous registry. I'm sure we'd also need a big, massive new department of government because they'd have to track all these items and so on. So I was very pleased that he's delayed it till after the next election, and I think that's a capitulation on his part. That's defeat.
For me, it's kind of weird and confusing.
I'm really not sure how plastic can save lives.
I honestly think that plastic makes our life better.
What does the future of plastic look like for countries considering signing an agreement through a United Nations global treaty? I believe we may be heading towards something that could be catastrophic for our economy, thus affecting everyone. Stephen Guilbeault is our climate change minister and is responsible for participating in discussions and agreements concerning the environment. But can we really trust a former Greenpeace activist with a criminal record for his past work with the organization and who attacked our own energy industry with some of the cleanest oil and gas in the world while turning a blind eye to China?
I'm very happy to announce the release of even more ambitious draft methane regulations for Canada's oil and gas sector, consistent with the International Energy Agency's recommendation. We're now aiming for at least 75% reduction for the oil and gas sector by 2030 in Canada.
Guilbeault is an ideologue who doesn't look into data and science, but instead embrace radical ideas propagated by other leftists like himself, which is why Premier of Alberta, Daniel Smith, has called for his resignation.
Do you ever believe that Stephen Guilbeault will work in partnership with you?
No.
Or do you think he should resign?
I think I've been asking for some time. I tried. I tried in good faith to work with Stephen Guilbeault, but he's an ideologue and he is not changing direction.
Meet Catherine Swift. She is an economist and president of Coalition of Concerned Manufacturers and Businesses of Canada. She believes that we need to send a message to remind people how plastic actually saves lives. Consider medical supplies, irrigation pipes, clothing, cars. Everything these days is made with plastic. It is durable, lightweight, antiseptic, helps preserve food longer, and keeps it clean, among other benefits. Of course, plastic is a problem for the environment, but many believe that banning it will not solve the core plastic issues. Catherine has therefore decided to use her Billboard truck to shed light on the other side of this story. For 3 days, this truck will circulate the city while 4,000 UN delegates from across the world are in town. Hear directly what Catherine has to say.
Well, the main reason, of course, was because we have a giant United Nations meeting here with about 4,000 delegates from around the world, and they're meeting to try to figure out how they're going to ban plastics, which is such an essential material in our lives. It's a ridiculous proposition to think that you're going to ban it, and they won't seem to consider much more practical things that could be done to improve the recycling of plastics. So we want to send a message. Plastics are irreplaceable in many applications. They're hugely useful in healthcare. You put them in cars and the car doesn't consume as much fuel. So it's actually good for the environment often to use plastics. And they're very, very recyclable. Some of them are almost infinitely recyclable. You can recycle over and over and over again. So the real practical way to go here is not to treat plastics as toxic like Mr. Guilbeault has done with some legislation that the court ultimately rejected, and rightfully so, but have the proper recycling procedures, make it easy for people to recycle, and then we can have these very, very valuable products. Our cell phones, our computers, our clothing all have plastic these days in them. Appreciate this product, which has so many uses and isn't replaceable by anything else. But do the right thing on the recycling side. It's not that complicated. It'll cost some money for sure. But if you think it's not going to cost money to have these ridiculous UN meetings with thousands of people, I think we got the police forces of about 5 cities here right now. I can't believe all the police. So I'd rather see that money go towards something productive, not just another nice meeting with, I'm sure, lovely meals and wines and all that for all these UN delegates that we pay for out of our tax dollars.
What can be the possible consequences to see the end of the plastic?
Huge consequences. Think of healthcare. We would not have gotten through the pandemic without plastics. Plastics are so, they're everywhere in the healthcare system. In our consumer products, they're everywhere. And they're not able to be replaced. And sometimes the replacements are actually worse for the environment. An awful lot of those plastic or the paper bags and things, the containers, from the takeout that leaked and you had the food all over your lap and the bad straws that fell apart. They were not only worse for the environment, but they were more expensive. So our prices go up as well. So once again, we're looking to a more practical, less expensive, and a functional solution so that people don't have their food contaminated, because plastics, it helps our food last longer too, which of course you have less waste. So there's so many positives, and yet the UN seems to only want to look at the negatives, and that's utterly ridiculous. I think most people would be shocked that they're wasting all of our money to try to achieve such an impossible and stupid objective. We know this government hates the oil patch, which is utterly ridiculous given all the employment and all the wealth that it contributes to the entire economy. Alberta, of course, transfers money to all the other provinces in the form of equalization payments. And so, yeah, they definitely have and it's hurt our economy so badly. We know we have a terrible productivity problem in Canada, and the key thing that boosts productivity is investment. Investment has run out of Canada, and this recent budget with the capital gains change is going to make it even worse. So yes, I think the fact that this government doesn't like the West, it doesn't like the oil and gas sector. Saskatchewan and Alberta, the main areas, for these industries, they don't vote Liberal, and that cannot be forgiven. So basically, I think that is another factor that encourages this government to do stupid things like try to ban plastics.
Plastic is killing the planet.
You're full of baloney, bud. Have another cigarette, by the way.
So what do you answer to those people who actually, like him, react badly to your message?
People believe the headline as opposed to, and that's understandable, everybody's busy, nobody can be an expert on all of these things. But the environmental movement has promoted so many lies with respect to not just plastics, but emissions and so on, and people buy into them because you can't research these issues, fully if you're your average person working all day and so on. So I think they're believing a superficial, untrue message without looking into the actual, the science and the realities of it. One of the reasons the federal court rejected Guilbeault's plastic ban was on science basis. It was a scientific analysis, and they showed it wasn't plastics weren't toxic at all.
This year's theme, Planet versus Plastic, calling on us for an ambitious change by 2040. Canada's working hard to walk the walk on plastic waste reduction. We helped to launch the Ocean Plastic Charter during Canada's 2018 G7 presidency. We introduced a domestic ban on harmful single-use plastics. We're implementing a comprehensive plan to reduce plastic waste and pollution. And today, I'm excited to announce a new federal plastic registry, which will increase transparency and help make producers responsible.
The plastics registry, I couldn't believe it when I first heard about it. It is going to require businesses to track all of the life cycle of a piece of plastic. Can you imagine? So you've got some raw material, you make it into a medical device, and then maybe that medical device gets recycled into a plastic water bottle, or maybe some shoes, or it could be all manner of different things. And a business, red tape in this country costs our economy terribly, and it makes us unproductive as businesses and as consumers as well. So something like a registry like this, let's just add the biggest pile of red tape you could ever add to have such a ridiculous registry. I'm sure we'd also need a big, massive new department of government, because they'd have to track all these items and so on. So I was very pleased that he's delayed it till after the next election, and I think that's a capitulation on his part. That's defeat. He's admitting defeat. He realizes, he's heard from businesses, he realizes it was a dumb idea right from the beginning, and you could do this, you could accomplish the same goals without burdening businesses anywhere near as badly. But I think the fact he's now deferred it is very, very good news, but it's also him waving the white flag. He's been defeated.
So don't forget to go and sign our petition, and you can chip in the same time at nogreenreset.com. As I mentioned, it's not cheap to go all the way here in Ottawa, rent an Airbnb, use our lawyer for legal advisory and letters. So please go over nogreenreset.com, chip in, sign the petition, and thanks in advance for your support.